Hi everyone, I'm Nathan with the ebookreader.com. For this video review, I'm going to give you guys a review and a walkthrough of the Google Nexus 7 tablet. And I'm also going to go over some tips and tricks. I posted this article last week, 40 tips and tricks for the Nexus 7. And I'll go over some of this stuff for some getting started tricks and some advanced tricks. And I'll also show some stuff that wasn't in this article that's just a little easier to explain visually. So let's go ahead and start out this review with sort of a tour of the Jelly Bean operating system. So with Jelly Bean, you can pretty much customize exactly how you want everything to lay out. Some people have a completely different look on their home screens than this because you can change different wallpapers. There are live wallpapers. There are so many different things you can do with this device. The settings are virtually unlimited. So you can have live wallpapers. There are all these different widgets we can put on the home screen. It just sort of depends on what apps you have installed to what widgets you'll have available. So like if you have Aldeco installed, you can put like individual book covers on your home screen. There's all kinds of different things you can do. You can put individual bookmarks from your web browser. We have a bunch of other options in here. So like if you have your calendar or your web browser widget, a lot of these are actually resizable as well. So if you hold on to them, you can make them bigger or smaller, however you want to set those up. So that's a pretty cool setup with Android 4.0. Let me go ahead and put a regular static wallpaper back on here just to make it so it's a little less distracting in the video. Okay, some of the other stuff with Android 4.0, like the older versions of Android, we can create folders with all your different apps. So this is the Google folder. I've also got a reading folder set up, like a music folder. You can create all different kinds of folders. All you do to create a folder is you just take a app and you drag it on top of another app, and then it will create a folder. So one of the most annoying things with the Google Nexus 7 is it doesn't have landscape mode for the home screen. As you can see, it doesn't have auto rotate on the home screen. That gets rather annoying. So there are some different apps. Like I mentioned in the tutorial here, we've got so there's this one app. It's called, what is it, Ultimate Rotation Control. It's a paid app. It costs $2.99. It has a workaround that works with Google, or works with the Nexus. So out of the default of it, there's actually an error with this. So like if I use this app, this is another app that's just like it. This is a free version. But so it'll work with your landscape rotation and all. But there's one problem with this app, and the same goes with that other app. When you play videos or you play like any kind of game or anything, 7 to 8 seconds it'll always sort of freeze up just for a second. It'll show it here in a second. Right there, it just stuttered. It'll do the stutter every 7 to 8 seconds, pretty much any kind of video app or any kind of game app. So that's one problem with the rotation control apps. So like I said, that other app, it's $3, but it has a workaround. The developer mentions a workaround in the description at Google Play. This one doesn't have a workaround. So it does that lagging every once in a while. If you're using this, hopefully they'll get that updated so we can just switch over to landscape mode, since Google annoyingly doesn't give us that option at all. Some other options you can do if you want to get landscape mode on the home screens, you can just install a different launcher. So there are other alternate home screen launchers, like this is the Nova launcher. It has a whole bunch of different type of features, so you can go ahead and set different transitions with these other kind of launchers where you have the cube transitions or stuff like that. There's also the Apex launcher, and that will work for landscape orientation as well, if you just wanted to get some landscape instead of messing with the rooting. So obviously you can root your tablet to get some more functionality out of it as well. So it's just some of the different workarounds for getting past the limitations that Google sets on here. So another workaround is Puffin web browser. So the Chrome web browser, I really like it because it's super smooth and I haven't had any crashes yet. As you can see, you can just zoom in and it's very fast scrolling. It's got some good features, like if you want to select text, it makes it really easy. It's a lot easier on the iPad. I get really annoyed with the iPad selecting text. It's always selecting like a huge block, and then you try to move these around and it doesn't work well. One thing I always liked about Android is you get those options right there. And then another cool thing with Android is you got some more options up here. You can just do a web search if you wanted to check out a search term or something. So the thing with the Chrome browser though is it doesn't support Adobe Flash. Actually, Android Jelly Bean is not going to be supported by Flash at all officially, but so there are some workarounds. You can install the Flash app, and then the Puffin web browser, it will play Flash. It plays Flash okay, actually, it's not too bad. Some of their other browsers I think will play Flash as well if you can track down like the beta version of Firefox. So there's some different ways to get flash video playing on here. So like I said, it has some limitations. There always seem to be workarounds for those limitations. The major limitation is the hardware. So we don't have any SD card slot. All we got is a headphone jack, micro USB connector. You can connect like a keyboard to this if you have an adapter. You can't connect you can't connect SD cards though. It doesn't have support SD cards unless you root the device and install an app called Stick Mount. Then you can support connecting an SD card through there. So on the back we've got the speaker right here. It's kind of indented, so if you set the tablet down, it doesn't really muffle it. The back's got this stippled, it's got this textured back here. It's really nice, comfortable feel to it actually. It's probably the best back I've seen on a tablet to date, as a matter of fact. We've got a volume buttons over here and a power, so it's very basic. We don't have any kind of a mini HDMI port, no cables like that. So it does kind of come slim in the connecting category, but otherwise this is a really nice tablet. We've got the 7-inch 1280 by 800 screen. I'm really liking the screen because it's really good for details with smaller text. When you got really tiny text like this, you can even read it really clearly. Comparing it next to like the Kindle Fire, you can tell that the text is a lot of it's a lot crisper and it's darker on the smaller text especially. So I'm really liking the new high resolution screen. The only one thing about it is it doesn't quite get dim enough for me. So I use this app called Screen Filter for reading at night, and that helps with getting it even past the lowest dim setting. So some other options here. Another things that I've set up in here, we got the camera. So this ships with a front-facing 1.2 megapixel camera. Okay, so when it comes to e-reading, I think that the Nexus 7 makes for a really good e-reader, just because the screen is really clear and crisp. The viewing angles are superb with the IPS screen. I mean, they're really good in all regards. It even looks pretty good when you're reading it outside, as long as it's not in direct sunlight and the screen is clear. It's a really good e-reader, I think. I've been reading some books on here using Aldico as well as the Google Play books. So the Google Play has their whole little widget right here. When you get the device initially, it actually has a really big widget. It takes up this whole home screen. I think it's a little bit too big, so I just go ahead and slim it down a little bit. You can do different sizes, as you can see. So with the Google Books app, it's an okay app, but it just doesn't have a whole lot of features. We've got the different, it's got the cool little animations and all. It doesn't have any kind of like on-screen notes or highlights or stuff like that. It has some decent adjusting options. So we've got the day theme, the night theme. We've got some different font types. I just haven't used the Google Books app very often because the Google Books selection, it's just not that good over here in the Play Store. I've gone through here and I just go through their sections, and there just really isn't a whole lot to choose from here unless they expect you just to search specific terms. I mean, it's just like you get down to the bottom very fast, and then all their books seem to be like $12.99, $14.99. Their stuff is just way too expensive as far as I'm concerned, so I just haven't used the Google Books app very much. It does have, like I said, it has some good features as far as like adjusting goes. You got the different text sizes and margins and all that, but it doesn't really have any kind of on-screen notes. It doesn't have any highlights. It's sort of lacking in that regard. It just sort of has the reading options, nothing for really advanced sort of options. So that's why I kind of use Aldico. You can obviously install a whole bunch of different e-reading apps in here. The Adobe Reader is a good PDF app now that they've got that updated. So obviously comics are going to be a big draw on this sort of device as well, and I'm loaded up a couple here and they work very well on this device. They look very good too, as you can tell, with this high resolution screen, so the text is even easily readable when they're really small balloons like that. Or you can do the zoom in, of course, and it has the pane view, which is kind of odd actually because they're not optimized, so it's kind of fuzzy when you go in real high, but for the most part it's really nice app for reading comics. So one of the annoying limitations with the Nexus 7 is it makes you use this phone interface, and the difference with the phone interface is you can see your apps, your recent apps list is right here, you got your home icon right here and your back button right here. We've got the notifications bar up here. So it's a little bit different if you have the tablet interface. The only way to get the tablet interface for Android Jelly Bean is to root this tablet, and then you can set that up, and it puts your apps over here. I mean, puts these little icons over in the left corner, and then it puts your notifications, your time down here in the right corner, and you've got this little quick widget right there where you can access your brightness and turn stuff off like with this. So it's rather annoying. I just sort of don't like the phone interface. I'm getting used to it though, but it's just annoying because you always got to go in the settings for everything. It's just definitely more presses. Like if you want to go adjust the brightness, you got to come in here, or you can just use this little guy here, but it's not exactly precise, or you can install some other widget. So after I get this review finished, I'm probably going to root this tablet just so I can get it set up a little bit more like how I want it, with the rotation on the home screen without that, using that app that slows things down, and I'll be able to have the tablet interface, so I'll be able to do some different stuff. It'll be kind of better that way, honestly. Won't be so limiting. So obviously the biggest limitation with the Nexus 7 is the fact that it doesn't have any kind of memory expansion. Like I said, you can use, if you root it, you can use an app called Stick Mount, and you can connect external, memory cards using a USB cable with a little adapter there. So the other options are, you can use cloud storage like I have SugarSync installed. There's a whole bunch of options for cloud storage out there. You can get well over 20 gigabytes of free cloud storage just by signing up for these various different places. Another option, one thing I was using was Splashtop Remote Desktop, and that works okay on here. So to mirror your computer, you set it up, and you can access your desktop computer using this app. I don't have my desktop computer on right now, so it's not going to work. But with this app, you can actually go in and it'll fit your computer to the screen, and you can go in and stream all your content off your computer that way. So that's one way to get past the limited storage space as well. So Google designed this apparently to be in more suitable for portrait mode, just obviously since the home screen doesn't go into landscape. And I usually use landscape mode on most of the time on 7-inch tablets, but for some reason they've kind of converted me over to using portrait mode a little bit more. With this 7-inch screen, it's a 16:10 ratio, so it's a little bit different ratio than like the Kindle Fire and other 7-inch tablets. What it comes down to basically is this screen is about an 1/8 of an inch wider and about an 1/8 of an inch shorter than the Kindle Fire screen. What it works out to is, like, I loaded up the same book in Aldeco, and it fits a couple extra lines on the Nexus 7 screen, so it gets a little bit more screen real estate with this resolution as well. So that adds a little bit to the effectiveness for portrait mode. As far as reading goes, as far as portrait mode. But let's go ahead and switch over to landscape mode just to kind of give you a look at how this works. As you'd expect from a Google tablet, all the Google apps come pre-installed on here pretty much. There are a few more available in the Google App Store, so like Google Maps has been updated, things are just smoother with it, it seems to load faster. One thing about this tablet, however, that I haven't mentioned yet is, like, the biggest negative that I've had with it is screen flicker. Like apps like this, when you got a white background, the web browser, and e-reading, it's like you can see the screen flickering, but only when the brightness is down like below 25%. I'm not going to try to show it on the video because it's probably not going to show up on the camera, but that is the single most annoying aspect of this tablet that I've experienced. A lot of other people have reported it too. I don't know if it affects all the tablets or if it's just some of them, but yeah, that is the one thing that drives me nuts about this tablet. So Google's got their own magazine set up on here. You get a few free ones when you just buy this device. As you can see, it's still not like blazing fast. The Tegra 3 processor is nice. I compared this with the Kindle Fire, which has a dual-core processor, and surprisingly they're very similar for most tasks. A lot of things is the same, launching emails, launching apps, and it takes the same exact amount of time. But like stuff like this, the Nexus 7 is faster with the scrolling and loading larger files. Definitely the higher end games run smoother and look a little bit better on the screen. But the difference with the Tegra 3 really isn't as much as I was expecting, to be honest with you. It actually does have one kind of downside, and the tablet does get pretty warm. When you're running this tablet for a while, it gets pretty darn warm down here in the left corner. It's kind of like the iPad 3. It tends to get pretty hot, but this one even does it at low brightness settings, where the iPad really only does it above 50%. So that is kind of one of the other little cons that I've got for this tablet, is it does get pretty darn warm when you're using it. So one cool thing about it, we've got the Bluetooth. I've been using Bluetooth headphones on here a lot. You aren't going to get that with any other cheap 7-inch tablet. Bluetooth works great. Obviously we've got the Play Store and all the other Google apps, so this kind of stuff you're not going to get on cheaper tablets a lot of the times because they don't have official Google license. And if they do have these apps, they're usually not on there officially, so it's not going to, everything's not going to work as well as it does, for instance, on here where we have just access to a ton of apps in here. Everything seems to work well. I haven't had hardly any forced closes. I've installed a few apps and then they won't work like right off the bat. They haven't been updated for the Nexus 7, so they don't work. But for the most part, I mean, I've had very good luck with Android 4.1 Jelly Bean on the Nexus 7. Everything seems to be really nice and smooth. I haven't really had any forced closes hardly at all. So everything seems to be nice, smooth, and works well. Everything is nice and stable. It's kind of surprising with Android 4.1. I thought there'd be a little bit more bugs initially, but for the most part, it's been a really nice operating system. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this review right here. Check out the ebookreader.com. I got that full written review over here. I've also got the tips and tricks post here for a whole bunch of getting started tips for the Nexus 7 if you happen to pick one up. Check the ebookreader.com and subscribe, and thank you for watching.